And off we go then. Right, okay. So I was watching chat as the credits were rolling there, and this is indeed Stunty the Stunt Wrench. Hang on, we can give you a bit of a close-up there. This was one of the true stars of our weekly modding show that we used to run called Tin Your Tip with Gary Dibley and Mark. And this wrench, it basically became the star of the show. Gary used it mostly for soldering things. And as you can see, if I hold it up close, you can see it basically suffered quite a lot. But cutting a long story short, Gary also, every year he runs a raffle and various activities. And I think one of them, a couple of years ago, he did, I think it was an auction. And the proceeds all go to children in need. So I know he's starting to think about this year's at the moment. So I'm sure he'll be up to something. But we're going back almost 2 years now. It was actually November 2012. And I won the auction. Or was it a raffle? I can't remember. I think I won the auction and a raffle. But anyway, Gary sent me a whole bunch of modding gear. Okay, and the idea was he put together a kit including the stunt wrench. Now you got to remember this stunt wrench. He bought a new wrench basically. So if you don't know the history of this, I'm just filling it in so the following video makes sense. He bought a new one, and this was part of the prize. But also in the prize, as I say, was a box full of stuff to get somebody modding. Now I don't get too excited, I haven't yet done it, but I'm thinking about it. So what I've done for tonight is I actually, when I received this stuff, I did a short video which I've kind of edited and updated for 2014, and now you know the background, the rest is self-explanatory. So let's crack on with the first VT tonight. Okay, in the big box was this big box which has been artistically inscribed by Mr. Dibley with the Vapor Trails TV logo, and it says "Beware Stunt Wrench inside." Excellent. Let's see what else is in here. Oh my word. Okay. We've got a project box. Let's try and keep everything where it can be seen. There's a project box. A mini pipe. Nasal hair trimmer. Sponge for a soldering iron. It's like the Generation game. Ooh. A partially constructed variable voltage tin mod, which seems to be largely complete except for the 510 connector. Cool. Screwdriver. Wire cutters. Small cutters. Springy pliers. Needle nose pliers. A tin with some mincing. It has no button. Oh, right, okay, we've got a soldering station. Cool. Another partially constructed mod. In fact, that's currently just a battery box. with a couple of wires attached. A sub-miniature push-to-make switch. Or the battery box. A torch. Ooh, a selection of buttons. Some red wire. Some black wire. Some solder. Countersinker. Battery holders. A reamer. A file. An extremely long torch. A hammer. Oops. Another battery holder. And wait for it. Stunty. He's been gagged and blindfolded for the journey. I don't think he's breathing. I think we need to sort Stunty out. Right, I'm just taking a closer look at this bag of switches and stuff that Gary sent along. And we've got some kind of circuit board in there. I'm going to need to ask him what that actually does. Various resistors. 510 connectors. Some pretty hefty switches. All sorts of colours. Oh, that's a good one. Look at that one. Like that one. And LEDs. I would appear to have everything you need to make a mod. I see a project coming on. Thanks, Gary. Right, so this is that very same box. It's a little bit worse for wear because it's been stacked up with other stuff, but this is the very same box that Gary sent me a couple of years ago. Some of the contents I've removed for doing stuff with when I needed a screwdriver and what have you, but most of it's still in here, and I haven't been through it for a little while. But for the first time in a couple of years, I've actually got a bit of a workspace. You can probably see some of it around me at the moment. I've organised all my tools, and I've actually got a bit of workbench space. So my hope is that over the next few weeks and months I can actually start using some of this stuff. I can unpack the box and put stuff where I can find it, and I've actually got space, including the solder station there, to try and make a mod. So watch this space, and in the weeks and months to come, maybe, just maybe, I'll make a mod. Let's see. But right now it's back to me in the studio. And here I am. So there you go. Yeah, okay, so that was, yeah. I was just reading the comments in chat, yeah. At that moment in time, I did have too much time on my hands, as I recall, yeah. And fortunately, or sadly not at the moment. But yeah, so that is my intention, basically. I'm going to have to talk to Gary and sort of tap him up for some tips and ideas. But I'm hoping, you know, sort of in the months to come, to use some of that gear, which is, you know, that's why Gary gave it away. He wanted to see people try their hand at modding, and it's something that I've always wanted to do but never got round to. So I've watched Tinya Tip a lot, so I reckon I could probably sort of put something simple together. But I need to practice, you know. I need to like get the basics right. But I've got this design in my mind, in my head, for a mains powered, foot switch operated mod with dials and stuff, and but I'm going to have to build up to that. So a big wooden box side there with like proper voltage indicators and stuff. You know, sounds simple enough to me. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So yeah, so that's I just also want to point out, of course, that, you know, that prize was all in the name of children in need. Gary does something every year for children in need, and so keep tuned to VTTV, because I'm sure the details of that, I've heard it mentioned. I'm not sure if anything's gone out on air yet, but I know that he's already starting to think about it, so that's good stuff. Now, and you saw there, I cleaned out the garage and everything, and I'm really pleased with that. And the main reason we did that is because we've got some new bikes. And if I look a little bit jaded tonight, it's because we took those bikes out for the first time today. I ache in places I didn't know I had, and my arse is quite sore. So yeah, just looking at the comments in chat, yeah, obviously anything I do with modding, I might do a few sneaky little things, you know, without filming it first, just to make sure I don't look a total doofus. But obviously I'll be filming some of that stuff as well. So there you go. So no promises as to when, but that is the plan. That is the plan. Now, I just want to mention something. I've got this. I don't want to do a full review of this because I might do it in the future. But this thing, I've got to share this with you. Right, hang on. Let me find something comparable. Right, here we go. If I switch, what's his name? Right, this thing. Right, that's the Fagatti hybrid Genesis mod. Right, which a lot of people think that's quite big, you know, and you know, a bit ungainly. Okay. If I compare it to the e-cigs Supreme we were looking at last week, which a lot of people thought was too big as well, you can see that that's a bit bigger. But I got to show this thing with you, because I'd never heard of this, and I saw it on UK Vapors Classifieds some months ago now. I've been using it for a while, but look, just to compare it to the e-cigs, look, it's not quite as tall, but it is a hybrid, and as you can see, it's a beast of a thing. And It's called the HAM. The HAM, and it stands for Huge Ass Mod. Takes a 650 battery. That's going to get you going for a few hours, isn't it? And it's got, I believe it's a 10mm tank, which seems about right. So you don't get many refills to your 30ml bottle of juice, put it that way. And it was a pig. It took me several attempts to actually get a working coil, because the dynamics are all different in a tank that size. I've tried steel rope, I've actually gone back to just sort of rolled up mesh in the end to get it to work. But God, it's good. Oh, I just wanted to share that with you because it's ace basically. So I'm alternating that between that and the Evic at the moment. So I'll share that with you. Anyway, it's probably time for us to take our first commercial break there or thereabouts, during which I will attempt to get hold of our guest tonight, Barry Spath from the US. It's all live, none of that pre-recorded. Sensible approach. We're going for it. We're going live, and together we're going to be taking a look at the latest VT from Dave Dorn on control and the gateway effect. So I'll see you straight after these messages, as they say in the US.
Joytech UK are proud sponsors of VapeTrails.tv.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Award-winning service and products from cloud9vaping.co.uk.
Vapers, do you love discovering new e-liquids? Tell Dripper the types of flavours you like and they'll send you 5 gourmet juices each month. Experience new and exclusive flavours, all with a money-back guarantee and free delivery anywhere in Europe. Dripper.co.uk.
RY4 Radio.
And we're having a technical hitch. I do apologise for missing the end of the ads there. Right, we're going to have to slightly reschedule this. So while Whilst you are watching the video from Dave Dorn, I'm going to carry on trying to get the audio working with Barry, and we'll see you in a few minutes straight after this.
And while I was travelling down the road, I'm going through some roadworks around about Scotch Corner time, where I'm seeing average speed cameras left, right and centre, which I find quite interesting. And the reason I find it quite interesting is because there seems to be a need in amongst a certain class of person to consistently, permanently, all the time, control everything we do. And it got me to thinking about how certain people in public health view electronic cigarettes, advertising thereof, and so on and so forth. For instance, let's look at uptake of electronic cigarettes by people who have never smoked, no matter what their age. The first thing that we have to accept, and that everybody has to accept, is that in no way and at no time, no matter what, it is never safer to smoke than it is to use an e-cig. It's that simple. It's never safer to smoke than it is to vape. Vaping poses less than 5% of the risk of smoking lit tobacco, and that, I have to say, is being alarmist. The actual risk level is probably way lower than that, but vaping's, you'd have to vape for 100 years, I reckon, in order to do yourself the same damage as you would if you smoked for a year. That easy. That's the first thing everybody needs to accept and understand. Once you accept and understand that, then this whole notion of people who don't smoke taking up vaping, well, let's look at that. Let's imagine, for argument's sake, you're a 12-year-old lad, and 10 years ago, as a 12-year-old lad, you might have thought about going down to the newsagents and buying a packet of 10 or a couple of Lucy's or whatever and giving smoking a try. Instead, now, today, as a 12-year-old lad, you decide, right, I'm going to go and buy myself one of them e-cig things and give that a try. Where is the issue? Where is the problem? The 12-year-old lad would have tried a cigarette. Instead, he decides to try an e-cig. And remember what we said. Under no circumstances is it safer to smoke than it is to use an e-cig. The harm's reduced straight away. Same applies if he never would have smoked. If he'd never have gone to the newsagents and got a packet of 10 or a packet of 20 as the TPD will make it. And trust me, if he's spent out on a packet of 20, he's going to smoke them all, but never mind. Let's say he's not in that boat, that he would never have gone and tried a smoked, lit tobacco cigarette. But he decides, well, actually, I might have a blast on one of these e-cigs just to see what it's like. And let's assume that he enjoys the e-cig. Bear in mind, he would never have smoked. That's important. He would never have smoked. So he buys the e-cig, he likes the e-cig, he sticks with the e-cig, and when he's 93, he turns his toes up and dies, and he's never stopped using the e-cig his whole life. Why is that a problem? Why is that a problem? It isn't. It's just not a problem. The e-cig is always going to be safer than smoking lit tobacco. And alright, he was never going to smoke lit tobacco, and he never has smoked lit tobacco throughout his 93 years of life. He's used an e-cig, and he's fine, and he made it to 93. Where's the problem? There isn't a problem. So what about the scenario where our fabled non-smoker, no matter what the age, decides, right, I'm going to try an e-cig. So gets one, gets a good one. Generation 2, Generation 3, whatever. Comes into it because he's a technophile. Likes the idea of the technology. And he picks up on whatever it happens to be. Now, bear in mind, he was never going to be a smoker. So he was never ever going to enjoy the taste of tobacco, lit tobacco that is, cigarettes, pipes, cigars, any of that. He was never going to enjoy it. Picks up an e-cig, decent one, uses it, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. And then for whatever reason, his single solitary e-cig, the only one he's got, breaks, or he runs out of juice, and there is no way on the face of this planet he can find anything to put in the e-cig that's going to satisfy him. Yeah. Is he then going to go to the corner shop and buy a packet of fags at 20 quid or whatever price it's going to be in a few years' time, and a box of matches or a lighter, and light the first one up? What's he going to say? Bear in mind, this is the bloke that would never have tried lit tobacco, only tried the e-cig because it seemed like the thing to do. If he's been using something nice and sweet and enjoyable flavour-wise, and given that he's been at it 2 or 3 years, he will have been, then, is he going to enjoy a lit tobacco cigarette, an ordinary, normal, what everybody used to call a cancer stick? Is he going to enjoy that? Is he actually going to go there? No, he's not. Might try a drag off his mates, but it's never going to happen. So all of this normalising smoking behaviour malarkey, all of that kind of stuff that we keep on getting thrown at us, it doesn't actually work. The bottom line on it is if somebody's going to smoke lit tobacco cigarettes, they are going to smoke lit tobacco cigarettes. If they were never going to do it, e-cigs aren't going to make them do it. The fact that you start on an e-cig doesn't make a heap of a difference. If you were never going to smoke tobacco cigarettes, the fact that you have vaped on an e-cig doesn't make you any more likely to smoke a tobacco cigarette. It's that easy.
And welcome back. And I do apologise, but as you can see, not only can I could see Barry to start with, but I couldn't hear you. But Barry, speak.
Speak.
Yay! So, yes, there was a bit touch and go there, but we recovered it, didn't we? Like seasoned pros. So, Barry, thanks ever so much for joining me tonight.
You're welcome. I appreciate it.
You've been around on the vaping scene for quite a while, I think. I've certainly seen you on Facebook and around the place. How long have you been?
5 years.
How long have you been vaping?
5 years.
5 years. Yeah. 5 years. So that's longer than me. I was 4 years, 2 weeks ago. So there you go.
Well, it was last June was my 5th year anniversary.
5th year, blimey. Yeah. That means you remember all kinds of stuff that I don't either. So that's
yeah, all the tea bags and the.
I remember the tea bag mod. I do remember the tea bag mod.
Blue foam.
Yeah, I've still got loads of that. And I'm just to show that I'm not making it up. This is the Tacklebox. And I reckon I've probably still got blue foam.
Here, I got something to show you.
Somewhere in there is blue foam, I promise you. But it's such a mess.
Here, look.
Oh, that's the... I remember that pipe.
601, 901?
601, I think those were, weren't they?
Yeah. So I go back.
Well, I guess that most people will have guessed from now that you are from the US of A.
Arizona.
Tell us a bit about yourself, Barry. What do you do for a living and such? And I'll put you centre screen.
I run a retail UPS store, United Parcel Service. People come in and ship their packages. I was in the corporate world for a very long time, and I don't play well in the corporate world. So when I got the opportunity, I opened up my own retail store and stay out of the corporate way.
Yeah, that sounds sensible to me. I kind of went the other way myself. I'm now a contractor, self-employed, working for big corporations, but I can leave when I want.
Being self-employed has a lot of advantages.
Doesn't it just?
One is these. I can vape all day long anyway, right in my store, and I don't care. Nobody tells me anything. And matter of fact, everybody walks in my store and says, "Ooh, it smells so nice."
Yeah. That's the main observation I get when people sort of comment on e-cigs. But anyway, we're here really, aren't we, to talk about Dave's little piece there about control and the gateway effect. And I was watching chat as that was playing out. So. Sorry, I just caught another comment there, but I think we've done it. I mean, the reason Barry is joining us tonight is plain and simply because he responded to my plea last week for people to email me if they want to come on and discuss one of these Dave Dorn things. So you got a sneak preview of that video the other day, and I just want to get feedback because quite often Dave and I sit here and put the world to rights. And it's nice to hear from people outside of the VTTV team. It's plain and simple.
Well, I almost feel part of the team because I've watched you guys for so many years.
Well, that's true. When did you start watching us? Sort of right at the beginning, or?
Very close. Dave still had long hair.
Well, there you go. That's a while now. That is a while now. It is. Yeah. Yeah, so on the piece tonight, what are your thoughts on that? I was watching chat and I saw that people started to talk about how old they were when they tried a cigarette for the first time and started smoking.
I was around 12 years old, 10 years old, so I've been smoking over 50 years.
Wow, that's quite a long time. And were you a heavy smoker?
And I never wanted to quit. I never, ever wanted to quit. Somebody walked into my store using an e-cigarette. I thought, ooh, a new toy.
Yeah.
And I played with it for about 2 months, maybe 3. In the last 3 days of that time period, I had not rolled a cigarette without realizing it.
Yeah.
And when I did realize it, I went out, lit one up. I took one drag, pitched it, and have not had tobacco since.
Have you been tempted at all?
No.
Yeah, you see, I'm the same. I was 12 years old when I started smoking, and I eventually went at the point that I tried my first electronic cigarette. I hadn't actually seen much of this stuff. I think I'd heard reference to them. I had a friend on another forum from some collecting I used to do, and we had a meet up, and she had one, and I tried it, and I wasn't that impressed, to be honest with you, because it was a very early one, and kind of a year went by and I was walking through a shopping mall, and we have a brand over here called E-lights. They're very light blue and stuff like that you get in the States, I think. And I tried one and thought, oh, this could work. Sort of found a forum and what have you. And like yourself, I've never been tempted to actually go back and try a cigarette. And so I think the point that Dave was making in the video there about is if you started using an e-cig, I don't think it's, for most people that I speak to, I don't think it's very likely that you would go back to a cigarette.
No.
And therefore, I can't see why somebody who might try an electronic cigarette before smoking would then necessarily go on to try smoking tobacco either.
No, no, that's exactly the point I felt Dave was making, is that I had no intention of quitting. I never wanted to quit. I like smoking. And to go from smoking to e-cigarettes with no desire to go back reinforces that someone who's never smoked, they're going to like e-cigarettes, try a cigarette, and go, that's nasty.
Well, that's my feeling too. That's my feeling too. So, I mean, just this whole idea of the gateway. If there's a gateway, and there may well be a gateway, but it's the other way round.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
The gateway actually leads away from smoking, not to smoking. And I've never met a vapor who would tell you any different.
No, in actual experience, it's always going to be that way. In theoretical, you can go any way you want, which is the other point that came to my mind listening to Dave's video. It's the difference between fighting against something and fighting for something.
Yeah.
I think vapors should be fighting for, whereas the antis are fighting against us. When you fight against anything, you give your opponent the home court advantage.
Yeah.
So if we're fighting for, we will always have the advantage. If we start fighting against them, we give them the home court advantage. So they're always making up theoretical arguments that have no validity in reality, and we are always talking about reality.
Yeah.
And the longer we focus on what we're fighting for, we'll always win every single time.
Well, I hope you're right. But I have to say, so some of the scary crap that comes out of some of these politicians and public health people, you know, so sometimes you do wonder. But I think you sum that up absolutely beautifully. Now, we've got one question I've just seen in chat for you, but we'll take this short commercial break and I'll pop that to you when we come back. If anybody else in chat has got any questions for Barry, just shout them out and we'll put them to him. And we'll see you in a couple of minutes. And welcome back. So yeah, we're having a right good natter here during the break. So, there was a question went by in chat there. It came from Mark Hamburg, and the question was, Barry, did you ever meet a vapor who didn't smoke before he vaped?
No, I have never met one like that ever. I have heard of them, and normally what I've heard is this gentleman starts vaping and vapes, and his girlfriend, who has never smoked or vaped, says, "Let me try that." And they may or may not get involved, but if they do, it's not a habit. It's when they go to meets. It's when they're sharing. But other than that, I've never heard of anybody going from vaping that had not been smoking.
No, and I'm exactly the same. I mean, I've heard stories in the press about little kids, and they were sold an electronic cigarette with nicotine in it, kind of thing. Just sensationalist stuff, basically. And
yeah, I've never met any brick and mortar who has ever sold to anyone under 18.
No, I think you're right. We have a lot of people selling things on sort of market stalls over here, and I think that's where that's come from.
That goes back to the law and their fight against us. They say it's attractive to the children. My response is, don't you already have a law that says they can't buy it under 18? If that law is not sufficient or effective, why are you wanting to create another law? What makes you think that will be any more effective or efficient?
Spot on.
And if the first law is not good enough, then the lawmakers aren't good enough to make good enough laws. So maybe you ought to ban the lawmakers.
Well, do you know what? I think you get a lot of support for that idea with this audience. I'm pretty sure of that. We've got another question for you, and again, it's come from Mark Hamburg. He's got it in for you tonight, Barry. And this time he's asking, what do you think, how much control regulation e-cigs need at all? So, what do you think is appropriate regulation? That's a term we hear quite a lot, especially here in Europe, where we've been fighting against this TPD and all that, which we consider, it's draconian, but it's excessive.
And we got the FDA up our butts too.
Indeed, yes. What do you think appropriate regulation might look like?
I think it would look exactly like how Starbucks coffee is regulated.
In what way?
Cleanliness.
Yeah.
The appropriate authorities come through to inspect your facilities, that they are clean and non-hazardous and all that.
Yeah.
That the consumer is getting exactly what they're ordering. A coffee, a latte, and there's nothing foreign in there than what you would expect. Other than that, I can't see any difference between coffee and vaping.
Yeah, I think that, especially with the parallels that have been drawn between nicotine and caffeine by a lot of the experts, I think that's absolutely right. We've spoken, myself and Dave Dorn, in the past on VTTV about that. And hygiene, food and safety and hygiene regulations.
Food and safety, yes, absolutely. It's exactly the same thing in my mind.
Yeah, and we could be singing from the same hymn sheet here, I think.
Amen.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Dave made reference to Lucy's in the video, and I wondered if that was a term that you recognised.
I dated her once. Right. That's it.
The term Lucy relates to the fact of opening a packet of cigarettes as a retailer, and then selling them individually, loose. Yeah. So is that a practice you ever saw in the States?
Never.
So I wondered if you did. I vaguely remember it, but I'm a little bit younger than Dave. I'm sure he'll even admit that. And I think that they clamped down a little bit by the time. But I still remember one shop that would do it. When cigarettes were sort of 50p for 10, you could buy one for 10p.
I've never seen any pack of cigarettes that had anything other than 20 cigarettes. That's it.
Right. So you don't see 10 packets either.
Never.
Right. So we won't hear soon because they've outlawed them as part of the TPD. Because obviously that was wider than just e-cigs. And so...
the bottom line on all this regulation is that if they're focusing on anything and allowing cigarettes to remain as is, That is the greatest hypocrisy that exists. And until they address that issue, the rest of it, it doesn't matter. It's just laughable.
Yeah, I think you've summed that up very, very well. If you've got any more questions for Barry, just shout them out or type them into chat. And
somebody asked about my devices.
Did they? I was going to ask about your devices.
Oh, then I'll wait.
I'll ask you now, because that's how we roll on this show. There is another question, and guess who it's from?
Same guy, yeah.
It is indeed from Mark. It says, what will the US vapors do if the FDA decide to regulate e-cigs too much? It says, sorry for my poor English. I think we're doing okay with his English. Mark's German, incidentally. I'm understanding the questions perfectly, Mark. It's absolutely no problem. So the question was, what will the US vapors do if the FDA decide to regulate e-cigs too much?
My feeling is that most inexperienced vapors that have never vaped or vaped within about a year and a half, they will just go back to cigarettes or quit entirely, whichever they can do. The experienced vapors over a year, they'll just continue what they're doing. They'll get their nicotine, they'll make their own juice, they'll rebuild their own atomizers, and it'll be, in my opinion, civil disobedience. If a law is unfair and unjust, you have a right and a responsibility to stand up against it.
I couldn't agree more, and again, that's another conversation we've had. You know, I've got enough. I mixed up another litre of my favourite juice the other day, so I need to get some more in. But at the point that somebody tells me that I can't buy that anymore, I'll be well stocked up on nicotine. I'll be well stocked up on Canthal. I'll be all right. That's the truth of it. Well,
I don't know if you have to stock up, because I don't think they're attacking nicotine or trying to get rid of nicotine. So I think nicotine is going to be available.
I think you could be right, because some of this stuff is pretty vague at the moment. Whether you'll find that the people, I would expect that if we do, we'll have to import it from China. And
how effective were any of their coming through customs? 80% of it got through, so that won't be a problem either.
Exactly. Coming from the US, they seem to check everything. Yeah, you buy a mod, they'll open it, they'll x-ray it, they'll do whatever they do, and they'll make damn sure you pay your duty on it. Coming from China, there's too much of it.
It's all about dollars. Where do we get our extra money? Where do we get our extra money?
They couldn't possibly catch all the nicotine if we all started doing that. But my concern with it is, from my own point of view, I'll be all right, and therefore the people I know will be all right. But it's the people who won't be offered decent devices. I don't know whether you saw Dave Dorn show during the week. He was looking at, I actually missed it myself, but I know he was looking at this Vipe e-pen. Now this is British American Tobacco. Yeah, and they've actually come up with a compliant ego type e-cig almost.
That he figured out how to refill.
But that's clearly their first attempt at a TPD, a Tobacco Products Directive compliant e-cig. And, but let's face it, if that's the best you're going to be able to get, it's a lot of people won't switch and stay switched to vaping. That's my view.
Well, hopefully if it does go that route, the manufacturers, while staying compliant, will still make better and better and better things.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's the only thing you can hope for.
But, of course, it would be within the 18 milligrams maximum tamper-proof kind of formula that the TPD insists on.
Yeah, but I agree with Dave. You can't make anything tamper-proof. You can't.
Well, I agree too. But, they'll have to allow something, you would think. Anyway, we've got actually some more questions for you here, and one of them's not from Mark. It says, in line with Mark's question, there had to be a Mark reference in there somewhere. If the FDA go too far with regulation, will it drive vaping underground in the States? I think some
of it, yeah.
Yeah, I think
I would prefer to see it above ground in civil disobedience.
I understand that statement. Yeah. I think you actually answered a large part of that question before. Are there any pending local e-cig enforcement in Arizona, like in New York, for instance? And that's come from DJ Reptile UK.
In the city I live in, which is called Tempe, which is part of the Phoenix metropolitan area, they recently did apply a ban to e-cigarettes, which is identical to smoking. So if you can't smoke there, you can't vape there. But the problem with that is enforcement. Who's going to enforce it? The only people that are going to enforcement are the business owners. If you went into a restaurant that you used to be able to vape in, there's no city official in there. Well, what have you got? You got cigarettes, you got vaping, you can't come in. It's the owners, and that to me is putting the onus on the wrong people. If you're going to have a law, then you enforce it.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
And they can't. And it is unenforceable unless the shop owners, restaurant owners, business owners comply because of fear of fines or what have you.
Good answer. They're coming thick and fast now. Mark's back. He's saying, did you or US Vapors take notes of the COP6? Did you see the COP6 stuff, the World Health Organization meeting recently?
What's going on right now in Russia?
Yeah, exactly.
About the only thing I saw was how they made it closed doors.
Yeah. Which is kind of, in a lot of ways, is all it's pretty much all you need to know, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
I've been trying to follow this on Twitter as I've been travelling about and everything, because it was during the towards the end of last week that stuff was coming through, and there were bits being leaked, and basically they're possibly the most anti-e-cig organisation going at the moment.
Well, again, you have to take it from the source. If the World Health Organization is no better at being able to handle an outbreak like this Ebola problem that exists in the world, and they're just sitting there twiddling their thumbs going, oh my. And why are they giving their attention to e-cigarettes?
Well, that has been commented on at length, You've got the WHO admitting that they screwed up with the whole Ebola thing, and seemingly sitting on the funding, not sure what to do and everything, yet they all jet off on a jolly in Russia to talk about trying to ban e-cigarettes, pretty much.
Again, it just comes down to their hypocrisy, and they're in the intellectual thought process about this without any experiential personal experience data or talking to the people who have the experiential personal experience. So
yeah,
it's all politics, and it's all high level money stuff.
Definitely money. I mean, we all know
they're fighting against us.
Absolutely,
they're coming into our home court. We'll beat them with just truth, facts, and here it is. You're a dope.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is with the WHO as well is everybody knows where they receive a huge section of their funding from, and it seems to me that if there was even a slight suggestion that they might be representing the pharmaceutical industry position on these things, that they would go to great lengths to be open and help people to understand the decisions they're coming to, yet instead they close the door and kick the press out.
Which says they're doing what they don't want anybody else to know about. If they don't want to know about it, it's bad stuff.
It says everything, doesn't it? Absolutely everything. We've got yet another question for you. Everybody's lively tonight. This one's come from Maxstrom, and it says, isn't the ban in direct contradiction? So he's talking about this Tempe ban, I think. Isn't this ban in direct contradiction to the First Amendment, or has he got that wrong?
First Amendment has to do with speech rights, and this is not speech. It's behavior.
So in a word, no, it's a different thing.
Yeah, it's different.
Okay, not to worry. We're actually coming towards the end, and I think we've answered all the questions that were put, so I think we've given people decent value there, which is always good. Now let's talk about devices. Okay, so what have you got in your hand?
Rose, Stumpy.
Right. Stumpy. I don't. The rose I know of. What's the Stumpy?
Stumpy is a short rose.
Ah, okay. Right. Okay.
There you go. And the Telemahos GG on a tin mod, and this is the Penelope on a wood mod, both regulated.
Ah, it's still using the Penelope, huh?
This is the V what 3, the newest one?
Must be by now.
Yeah. They make it. They vape good. If they vape good, I use it.
Makes sense. That's a fairly simple logic. And what about what you put them on? What were those mods that you were holding up there?
Well, they're all regulated. This is a DNA 30. This is a DNA 30. This is a DNA 30.
I can see a pattern here, Barry.
I think this is a DNA 30.
Right. Okay. So,
but I had the DNA 40 ordered.
Okay, right. I was going to say, it's fair to say you're a fan of the DNA 30 then, yeah? Okay.
Just regulation, they happen to be the best ones in my opinion.
Do you know what? I do not have a single DNA 30 mod. Do you know that?
Out there.
Maybe I'll make one. Who knows?
Well, I like the SX too. SX is a good regulated mod too.
Yeah, have you tried that, yeah?
Yeah, I had the 26650 one, but I just put away.
Right.
And I've got a couple that are on order. People are making for me, but I don't have them yet.
Superb. Well, do you know what? We've hit time. Near as damn it.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
All that remains for me to say is thank you very, very much for coming on the show tonight. Everybody in chat's been very complimentary.
Thank you.
And they've been very forthcoming with their questions, which is always nice. And it's always nice to get an insight from because we've been so focused, I think, with the TPD stuff over here, and we've it started, the focus was with the FDA, and then it got a bit closer to home, and now I think to a large degree we're all in the same boat, aren't we?
No, we're all in this together. Worldwide, we're in it together, and we need to focus together because what you guys do affect what we do, and what we do affects what you do, and we learn from each other, and it's the same fight.
It absolutely is, and I think that's a great place to call it a night for tonight. So once again, Barry, thank you very much. Chat, thank you very much, and for everybody that's watching this, thanks very much, and we'll see you next week. Until then, thanks for watching.